গোপীজন বল্লভ গিরিবরধারী গোপীজন বল্লভ গিরিবরধারী যশোদানন্দন ব্রজজনরঞ্জন যশোদানন্দন ব্রজজনরঞ্জন যমুনা তীরাবনচারী যমুনা তীরাবনচারী জয় রাধা মাধব কুঞ্জ বিহারী জয় রাধা মাধব কুঞ্জ বিহারী গোপীজন বল্লভ গিরিবরধারী জয় গোপীজন বল্লভ গিরিবরধারী যশোদানন্দন ব্রজজনরঞ্জন যশোদানন্দন ব্রজজনরঞ্জন যমুনা তীরাবনচারী জয় রাধা মাধব কুঞ্জ বিহারী জয় রাধা মাধব কুঞ্জ বিহারী জয় বিষ্ণুপাদ পরমহংস পরিব্রাজকাচার্য অষ্টোত্তর শত শ্রী শ্রীমাদ অভয় চরণারবিন্দ ভক্তি वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gaurango. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Shutarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 10, text 32. This chapter is entitled as Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Text 32. Ajato Shatruhu Pritanam Gopithaya Madhudvishaha Paribhya Shankitaha Snehat Prayungta Chatur Anginim. Ajato Shatru Pritanam Gopithaya Madhudvisaha Paribhya Shankita Sneha Prayungta Chaturanginam. Yudhishthir, who was no one's enemy, Pritanam, defensive forces, Gopithaya, for giving protection, Madhudvishaha, of the enemy of Madhu, Sri Krishna, Paribhya, from others, enemies, Shankitaha, being afraid of, Snehat, out of affection, Prayungta, engaged, Chaturanginim, four defensive divisions. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhishthir, although no one's enemy, engaged four divisions of defenses, horse, elephant, chariot and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, demons. The Maharaj did this because of the enemy and also out of affection for the Lord. Please repeat after me. Maharaj Yudhishthir, although no one's enemy, engaged four divisions of defense, horse, elephant, chariot and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, demons. The Maharaj did this because of the enemy and also out of affection for the Lord. Natural defensive measures, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Natural defensive measures are horses and elephants combined with chariots and men. Horses and elephants are trained to move to any part of the hills or forests and plains. The charioteers could fight with many horses and elephants by the strength of powerful arrows, even up to the standard of the Brahmastra, similar to modern atomic weapons. Maharaj Yudhishthira knew well that Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher, and yet there were asuras who were by nature envious of the Lord. So out of the fear of attack from others and out of affection also, he engaged all varieties of defensive forces as bodyguards of Lord Krishna. If required, Lord Krishna himself was sufficient to defend himself from the attack of others who counted the Lord as their enemy, but still he accepted all the arrangements made by Maharaj Yudhishthir because he could not disobey the king, who was his elder brother. The king plays the part of a subordinate in his transcendental sporting. The Lord plays the part of a subordinate in his transcendental sporting, and thus sometimes he puts himself in the care of Yashoda Mata for his protection in his so-called helplessness of childhood. That is the transcendental Leela or pastimes of the Lord. The basic principle for all transcendental exchanges between the Lord and his devotees is exhibited to enjoy a transcendental bliss for which there is no compassion even up to the level of Brahmananda. I'll read the last sentence. The basic principle for all transcendental exchanges between the Lord and his devotees is exhibited to a transcendental bliss for which there is no comparison, even up to the level of Brahmananda. Ajata Shatru Pritanang Gopithaya Madhudvisha Parebha Shankita Snehat Prajungta Chaturanginim. Maharaj Yudhishthir, although no one's enemy, engaged 4 divisions of defense, horse, elephant, chariot and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the asuras, demons. The Maharaj did this because of the enemy and also out of affection for the Lord. So, here Maharaj Yudhishthir has been described as Ajata Shatru. Ajata Shatru, literally the word means, whose enemy has never been born. Yudhishthir Maharaj's enemy was not born. That is because Yudhishthir Maharaj did not consider anyone to be his enemy. It is not that others were not inimical towards Yudhishthir Maharaj. Like we see, the Kauravas were inimical to Yudhishthir Maharaj. And there were many others, those who were inimical towards Yudhishthir Maharaj. Then why Yudhishthir Maharaj is called as Ajata Shatru? Because Yudhishthir Maharaj never considered anyone to be his enemy. Others could. And it is very significant that although Yudhishthir Maharaj is Ajata Shatru, he is arranging the 4 divisions of soldiers, 4 divisions of 4 divisions. Chaturangini has been described. 4 divisions of defense. Prabhupada translated it. 4 divisions of defense. Those 4 divisions, generally in the early days, the army or the defense used to consist of these 4 types of warring divisions. Like elephants, some soldiers used to fight from the elephants, some on horseback, some on chariot, and some on feet. So they are known as Chaturangi, 4 divisions. Like Yudhishthir Maharaj arranged these 4 divisions of army to accompany Krishna. And it has been pointed out why Yudhishthira Maharaj did that, because one reason was that Yudhishthira Maharaj was concerned about Krishna's enemies, that Krishna's enemies may attack him. Now this is the pastimes of the Lord. Although Yudhishthira Maharaj knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but still he is making this arrangement. This is actually an expression of his love for Krishna, his affection for Krishna. Actually, devotee knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna is the Supreme Controller, Krishna is the Supreme Proprietor. A devotee knows, but still devotees make arrangements. Like here, in the temple, we know Krishna is God, Krishna is the Supreme Personality, Krishna is actually feeding the whole world. But still we offer food to Krishna. Why? To think that, well, Krishna can eat himself. There's no need for me to give any food to Krishna. Yes, one can think that way. But that thinking will be impersonal. To leave Krishna, okay, let him arrange for his food. If we think that way, then what happens? We become the loser. We miss out the opportunity to develop a relationship with Krishna. Some temples do that. I don't want to name those temples, big temples. They spend crores and crores of rupees. And they are billionaires. They don't have crores, but they have thousands of crores. But Prabhupada actually criticized once. What do they offer to Krishna? They offer little sugar to Krishna. Just some sugar and little water. And when asked, they said, well, Krishna, he doesn't eat. He doesn't eat. So what's the point in making all this arrangement? But that shows that they are not devotees. That's why they do not know. Krishna eats. Krishna eats. One may not see that Krishna eats. There are instances when Krishna eats also. In Jagannath Puri, there is a temple of Alalnath. The incidence is that this Alalnath was being worshipped by some Brahmanas. This used to be a village of Brahmanas, and the head of the Brahmanas used to worship the deity. So one day, Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan. One day this person went to a distant place. So he told his little son to make the offering to Krishna. And so mother cooked the prasad, and the son at the time, he was a little boy, when the bhoga had to be offered. So he went and made the offering. And his father told him that he should feed Krishna the offering. So he was telling Krishna to eat. And when Krishna didn't eat, he started to cry. Oh, you are not eating. My father told me to feed you, and you are not eating. He'll get very angry and he'll beat me. So when he started to eat like that, then Krishna started to eat. When he started to cry like that, Krishna started to eat. And so then, don't switch it off, Krishna. Chiranjeev, switch it off. So Krishna, and so he fed. So when he came out, the plate was empty. So his mother asked, what happened to the prasad? He said, Krishna ate it all. So mother was worried. Is it really Krishna ate or he himself ate? And eating the food that was meant for the Lord from his plate is great offense. So when the father came back, the mother reported that this has happened. So the father asked her, what happened? Well, Krishna ate. He asked, sure Krishna ate? He said, yes. And so then the father thought, okay, tomorrow also you make the offering. So he made the offering, and the father was hiding behind the curtain. And then the father saw, yes, Krishna was eating. So this is how Krishna can eat. Krishna eats. When we offer the food, Krishna eats. But Krishna's angani jasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. Angani jasya, Krishna's, all of Krishna's limbs, different parts of his body, can perform the activities of all different senses. Like with our eyes we see and with our hands we eat. Right? But Krishna can even eat with his eyes and smell with his ears. Angani jasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. Krishna just looks and he eats. Therefore, devotee knows that Krishna eats, and he, although knows that Krishna is the supreme proprietor, but still he offers food to him. A devotee never thinks that, well, doesn't matter. Today I won't cook. I'm not feeling well. Today I'll just lie down, go to sleep. And Krishna doesn't eat, so there is no harm if I don't make the offering. Does a devotee ever feel that way? No. Even though he is feeling difficulties, still he eats because he knows that Krishna prasad has to be offered to Krishna. Now this also can be done out of two considerations. When it is done out of duty, then it is Vaidhi Bhakti. When it is done out of love, then it is Raganuga Bhakti. So, one should not do it out of a sense of duty. One must offer to Krishna out of his love. Like Mother Jashoda, she used to think, if I don't feed Krishna, Krishna will die. And she would, even though Krishna didn't want to eat, she would just go grab Krishna or send Balaram. Balaram, Krishna is playing for too long, go and get him. And this way, Krishna would be made to eat, forced to, made to eat. So devotee out of his love doesn't feel that Krishna is God. Rather, he feels that Krishna is the object of his love. So similarly, although Maharaj Yudhishthira knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but still he sent the 4 divisions of defense to give protection to Krishna. Yudhishthira Maharaj was Krishna's elder brother, so his feeling was, what if somebody attacks Krishna? Although the battle of Kurukshetra was over and all the Asuric kings were all killed, but still Yudhishthira Maharaj had that consideration. That if anybody attacked. In the past there had been many attacks on Krishna. Jarasandha attacked Mathura so many times. So Krishna's enemies are there. And here we can see also Yudhishthira Maharaj has been described as Ajata Shatru, whose enemy hasn't been born. And Krishna also is Ajata Shatru. No one is Krishna's enemy. But at the same time, about Krishna's being attacked by his enemies. Actually, no one is Krishna's enemy. Krishna never thinks that anyone is his enemy. But there are some unfortunate souls, they become inimical to Krishna and his devotees. Why Yudhishthira Maharaj is Ajatashatru? Because he is a devotee. He never considers anyone to be his enemy. Because a devotee is Samadarshina, Pandita Samadarshina. Samadarshina means he sees everyone as someone very dear to him. Therefore, he doesn't see any difference in them. Samadarshi. Samadarshi means one who is equally disposed to everyone, enemy or friends. Doite bhadra bhadra gyan সব মনোধর্ম, এই ভালো এই মন্দ এই দুই ভ্রম। That bhadra and abhadra, desirable and undesirable, enemy and friend, these conception is due to the mental concoction, due to our illusory involvement. Ultimately everyone, prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. Everything is happening in the material nature according to guna and karma. If someone is inimical towards me, then I have to see that in the past I have must done something to him. That's why the reaction is like this. So a devotee, therefore, doesn't become affected by how he is treated. He simply takes it as his bad karma. Okay, somebody slaps. He thinks, I must have slapped him somewhere in the past. If not in this life, in some other life. So good that he did it. Now it's square. That karma is over. So a devotee goes through this experience, this way, he goes through his life. And that's why devotee is completely equipoised to everyone, equally disposed to everyone. And for a devotee there is no one, and at least he never considers anyone to be his enemy, but he considers everyone to be his friend. Especially Uttamadhikari devotee. Madhyamadhikari devotee makes discrimination. But that is mainly, like those who are offensive, he avoids. He never goes out of his way to deal with that person. Keeps him at a distance. I have nothing to do with him. He doesn't like me, so why should I go to him? He doesn't like Krishna, so why should I go and speak to him about Krishna? And if I speak to him about Krishna, he will become more offensive. And as a result of that, he won't be able to come close to Krishna. He doesn't get into a conflict with his enemy. He simply avoids him. But a Uttamadhikari won't even avoid him. He will consider, even this demon is such a great devotee. And it is my fault that I cannot deal with him properly. That is the Uttamadhikari's attitude. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj is naturally a pure devotee of Krishna. So he knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but still he made this arrangement for Krishna's defense. If anyone attacks, so let the army go with him. He is not thinking, Krishna is God, Krishna can defend himself. Why should I take the trouble of sending my soldiers as his bodyguards? Let Krishna take care of him. Now will that be nice? No. That shows we don't have any love for him. Like although a child knows that the father has all the money, but he buys something for the father and gives it to the father. He never thinks that, oh, my father has all the money, now let me enjoy the money that I got from him. Most of the people think that way, but good boy, a good son, thinks that, oh, I got some money, so let me buy something and offer it to my father. And when the father gets it, when the child offers it to the father becomes so pleased. Oh, my son is such a nice boy. Look, he's so considerate, he's so concerned about me. Although the father may have diabetes and he can't eat chocolate, but when the son gives the chocolate to the father becomes so happy. So this offering something to Krishna is actually a matter of expressing our love to Krishna. Yes, Krishna can do anything, but we get an opportunity to express our love for Krishna. And when we offer our love to Krishna, then Krishna sees that and Krishna reciprocates. It is not just a one-sided thing. It is a reciprocal thing. A devotee offers his love to Krishna and Krishna offers his love to him. And that is how the loving exchange takes place between Krishna and his devotees. That's why time and time again we tell everyone, that what happens when you love Krishna, when you serve Krishna, when you develop your devotion to Krishna, you yourself will see. There is no need to tell you. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. That loving exchange is mutual, reciprocal. Devotee loves Krishna, Krishna loves his devotee. Actually, Krishna already loves his devotee. Krishna already loves everyone. It is out of his love that Krishna is doing so much for everyone. A person is a demon. He hates Krishna. He can't stand the name Krishna, can't even accept the concept of Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we see that he is having all the food, he is having all the oxygen, he is having all the money, he has his big palace to live, he has all the comforts. How is he getting that? Who is giving them all the food? Krishna. So we can see that in the past also we have seen, and in the present also we are seeing, that so many people there are those who are inimical to Krishna, but still Krishna is providing for them. Although we see that Krishna killed Shishupal, or at least with Shishupal, Krishna had his condition. Shishupal's mother is Krishna's aunt. So Shishupal actually, mother realized that Krishna will kill Shishupal. Shishupal was born with 3 eyes and 4 arms. And so they were very worried. At first they thought that let's get rid of this child, because it's inauspicious to have 3 eyes, and for an ordinary person to have 3 eyes and 4 arms. So then they were told that the person who would kill him, when he sees him, then his 2 extra arms will disappear and his eyes will disappear. Third eye will disappear. When somebody takes him on his lap, and if it goes away, disappears, that person will kill him. So Krishna also was a baby boy, and the mother tried to many places. The father and mother of Shishupal tried in many offered it. They thought that, let's see if the hands disappear. They put him on the lap of so many people, nothing happened. But then one day Krishna came to the house. Krishna was just a little boy. And Shishupal was, and they were playing. And at some point Shishupal sat on Krishna's lap and his two arms disappeared. So the mother realized that Krishna will kill him. So she was very sad. So she requested Krishna, Krishna, please forgive all his offenses. Please don't take his offenses. Because she thought that it is because of his offensive attitude towards Krishna that he will be killed by Krishna. Krishna said, okay, I will tolerate his 100 offenses. And throughout his life, Shishupal was offending Krishna. He was always offensive to Krishna. And during the Rajasuya Yajna, when Krishna was offered the highest seat of honor, Krishna was treated as the most respected person. Shishupal became very, very envious. And he started to blaspheme Krishna. And so at that time, 100 offenses were over. So 100 offenses Krishna counted. So in 100 offenses, when he exceeded the 100th offense, then Krishna released his Sudarshan Chakra and Shishupal's head was chopped off. But still, his soul came and merged in Krishna's body. So he got liberated. Sajyajya Mukti he got merged in Krishna's body. So, in this way, the demons also receive Krishna's mercy. So we can see, like, although the demons are killed, but still they are liberated. Asura Harina Hata. When the Asuras, the demons, are killed by Krishna, they also achieve liberation. So we can see liberation which is desired by all these exalted personalities, and they perform so much austerities to achieve liberation. Even Krishna's enemies being killed by Krishna achieve that liberation. But don't become inimical to Krishna, thinking that by becoming an enemy of Krishna you'll achieve liberation. If you get killed by Krishna, yes, but what's the guarantee that you'll be killed by Krishna? What if Krishna's devotees kill you? Then he'll get some benefit, but not liberation like that. So what is the best course of action? The best course of action to become a devotee of Krishna. If Krishna treats his enemies in that way, how will Krishna treat his devotees? That should be our consideration. If Krishna is so merciful, so compassionate, so caring for his enemies, then what will happen if we become a devotee of Krishna? Sometimes people have some misconception. When you become a devotee of Krishna, you invite misfortune. There is some serious consideration like that. Don't become a devotee of Krishna, then you will lose everything. Don't become a devotee of Krishna, then you will invite misfortune. And they think, yes, look, Duryodhana was inimical to Krishna, but Duryodhana was enjoying, and the Pandavas were Krishna's devotees, they were suffering. But they don't realize that That is only a material consideration. What if someone is living in a palace in an extreme luxury but suffering from cancer? How will he feel? One may have millions of, billions of rupees and has a big palace, has all the facilities, but he is suffering from cancer. And there is another person, he is not so rich, but he is leading a healthy life. His health is strong, he eats well, he sleeps well. Out of these two persons, who is actually more fortunate? The person with a lot of money but suffering from cancer? Or the person who is not so rich but has a healthy, happy life? Now in the similar note we can consider that Duryodhana may be living in a big palace and became the king of the whole world, whole earth planet, but his heart was constantly burning with envy. Internally he was so unfortunate, so unhappy. Whereas the Pandavas, they may be in the forest, but they were having a good time. They're in the forest, but when we read Mahabharata, we see, even when they were in the forest, they were having such a wonderful time. So who is more fortunate, Duryodhana or the Pandavas? Although they may be in the forest, but if one is enjoying in a forest, isn't it wonderful? Don't you go to a forest to have picnic? So if you're in a forest but having picnic every day, how will you feel? The Pandavas were in the association of all saintly people and they were having such wonderful time. Killing the demons, and they never had any difficulty. So ultimately we have to understand that the enjoyment, the ultimate consideration of enjoyment is not external. The real consideration of enjoyment is internal. If internally we are happy, then does the external situation make any difference, or does it really matter? No.